Good day everyone and good day Miss Ho. We are the group 2 and our discussion is a continuation of lesson 1. It's about the national mandates and I will be the first reporter. The Philippines is a state party to the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CADAW, is obligated to pursue and implement projects and activities that will contribute to the achievement of women's empowerment and gender equality. The Philippines has been part of the United Nations since 1945 and they signed the CADAW some 1980. CADAW is like an international agreement. It is a kind of global promise that countries sign on to, and by signing they are saying we agree on that discrimination against women is wrong and we are going to do something about it. It's like a responsibility. So the Philippines signed kag nag-commit sila sa sining law, which means they have a national obligation to actively work towards women's empowerment and gender equality. So it means that ang government kinahanglan mag-create sa mga programs, mga projects, mga activities nga nagabulig sa women to thrive and ensure they have the same opportunities as men. For example, in addressing discrimination in laws and policies. So, imagine may ara isa ka law nga gahambal nga only men can inherit land. So, it is a discrimination and because the Philippines has signed to the CADAW, may ara sila ginahimo, gina-review nila ang mga law, gina-change nila ang law to ensure nga ang women may ara man also equal rights in property ownership, in inheritance, and other areas pagid. Also is the promotion of women's participation in decision making. So it is also part of being sa signing in CADAW. Example, ang mga women are given a chance to lead, especially in the government. They are given positions, may mga positions sila sa politics and in companies also. So CADAW pushes the Philippines to actively encourage and support women's participation in all levels of decision making. Pwede na siya mag-involve sa mga tagaan sila position sa government, providing leadership training for women, and of course, challenging societal norms that discourage women from seeking leadership roles. Another example also is that ensuring equal opportunities in education and employment. Of course, ang una, we have observed that ang women is limited sila sang chance sa education, and now diba damo na top chances to have the privilege na to have higher education, and CADAW pushes for equal access to education at all level of girls and women. So this means that ensuring girls stay in school, for example, providing scholarships and creating learning environment free from gender bias, diba? For example, sa employment, ang workplace where women are paid less than men for doing the same job. So, sa una is there is a discrimination. May araman nga they face barriers to promotion simply because they are women. So, amo na siya ang ginabatuan sang CADAW kung sa diin gina-obligate niya ang Philippines to combat this, and this involves implementing equal pay laws, addressing sexual harassment in the workplace, also providing support for working mothers like the maternity leave or mga childcare facilities, and of course promoting women in non-traditional fields. Example is addressing violence against women or Here in the Philippines, may kita law nga ginatawag natin nga VAUSI or ano na siya, Violence Against Women and Their Children. So, or 9262, Republic Act 9262. So, CEDAW specifically calls on countries to take all appropriate measures to prevent and protect women from all forms of violence, whether it happens at home, sa balay man, sa community, or is perpetrated by the state. So, in the Philippines, diba, ito ako ng bagay na may harap kita diri sa ginatawag na VAUSI or Republic Act 9262, which gina-criminalize various forms of abuse and provides protection and ginasuportahan ang mga victims. It also means strengthening law enforcement, providing shelters, gina-counsel ang mga victims, and of course, raising awareness about gender-based violence. As we can see, ang CEDAW naging permahan sa Philippines is not just for perma lang because they need to. It is a driving force behind many of the efforts in the Philippines para mag-create some just and equal society, of course, for women. The Republic Act 9710 or the Magna Carta of Women is a comprehensive women's human rights law that seeks to eliminate discrimination through the recognition, protection, fulfillment, and promotion of the rights of Filipino women, especially those belonging in the marginalized sector of the society. It conveys a framework of rights for women based directly on international law that the MCW establishes the Philippine government's pledge of commitment to the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or the previously discussed CEDAW Committee in its 36th session in 2006, to the United Nations Human Rights Council on its first Universal Periodic Review in 2009. It is the local translation of the provisions of the CEDAW, particularly in defining gender discrimination, state obligations, substantive equality, and temporary special measures. It also recognizes human rights guaranteed by the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, or the ICESCR. The Republic Act 9710, also known as the Magna Carta of Women, na-discuss na din siya last sa midterm, but let's recap. So, it is like the Philippines' very own comprehensive law na dedicated lang din siya for women, their human rights. The Magna Carta for Women is that it doesn't only just talk about equality in a general sense. It actively aims to eliminate niya ang discrimination against Filipino women by making sure nga ang ilang rights are not only recognized but also protected, fulfilled, and promoted. And it pays special attention to women who are in marginalized sector of society, acknowledging that they often face even greater barriers. The Magna Carta of Women isn't something that came out of nowhere. Wala ni siya nga ginpakot-pakot lang or aksidente lang nga na form. It's deeply rooted in the international law, particularly the CEDAW, which we just discussed kagaina. So, the MCW essentially takes the principles and commitments of CEDAW and translates them into specific laws and actions that the Philippine government must undertake. The CEDAW is like the international blueprint, for example, and the Magna Carta of Women is the detailed construction plan tailored for the Philippines. So now let's talk about some key aspects of the Magna Carta of Women and paano sila na connect sa CEDW. So, first is defining gender. Ano ang ba dito ganina? Sa Magna Carta of Women, na-define dito kung ano ang mga type of discrimination sa women, which includes the exclusion. Arang gina-exclude sila, for example, sa decision making, sa education, sa mga proper inheritance, atong istorya gaina, and the restriction, gina-restrict sila sa mga bagay nga they should have rights. Mention man ang ICESCR or the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights. So, it is another multilateral treaty naman adopted by the United Nations General Assembly sang December 16, 1966, and it came into force on January 3, 1976. The ICESCR is like an international agreement that outlines a broad range sang human rights related to people's well-being and their participation in society. Meaning ang mga rights nag-include the right to work. This includes the right to fair wages, mga safe working conditions, and the freedom to choose kung ano ang gusto nga work. Next is the right to social security. This covers things like social insurance, unemployment benefits, and support for families and those in need. So, ato ni siya ma-observe sa aton nga mga families, sa aton mga parents, may ni sila. So, the rights to an adequate standard of living. This includes the right to food, clothing, housing, and clean water. The right to health. This encompasses the right to the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. Next is the right to education. So this includes the right to free and compulsory primary education with equal access to secondary and higher education, just like we are experiencing right now. This is such a privilege for us. So next is the right to take part in cultural life. Yes, ESCR na ina-highlight sini nga ang Philippines, ang commitment sa Philippines sa women's right is also grounded man sa broader international nga framework na gina-recognize ang fundamental economic, social, kag ang cultural rights para sa tanan. And mind me say this nga, having this international bill, international law, rights, everything na ara na nasulat na sa aton nga constitution, having all of this without the collective action nga need to fulfill this, it will be nothing. Wala lang, void lang siya. So it starts with us to comply with this, especially when it comes to women's right and of course human rights man. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Maynti Gonzalez and this is my report about silent figures of the law. Includes our number 1, gender balance. What is gender balance? Gender balance is increasing the number of the woman in the third level position of the government to achieve a 50-50 gender balance within the next 5 years, while the composition of the woman in all levels of the development, planning and program implementation will be at least 40%. Next is genealogical leave. What is genealogical leave? Leave benefits for the 2 months will full pay based on the gross monthly composition for the woman employees who undergo surgery caused by genealogical disorder, provided that they have to render continuous aggregate and employment service to at least 6 months for the last 12 months.
Hi, this is Latifa May Dukoy, and today I will be tackling about the Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development. The Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development in 1995 to 2025 was signed on September 8, 1995 through Executive Order 273 by then President Fidel V. Ramos, contains the long-term vision of women's empowerment and gender equality and translate the bridging platform for action into policies and strategies and programs and projects for Filipino women. So, ang PPGD or the Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development, gin-create na siya to promote gender equality and also to empower women. And the plan helps to make sure that both men and women makakuha sila sang equal nga opportunities in any aspect in life, like in the workplace, like in the education, in the household, and creating programs and policies for this purpose. And also, PPGD was created to ensure that gender equality and also empowering women will be an integral part of a country's development. PPGD was designed to promote gender equity and equality and to help women and men actualize their potentials. The PPGD pursues efforts to mainstream gender and development in government and foster cooperation between government and NGOs, encourage gender-sensitive industry planning, including equal opportunities for training in informatics and other fields, adopt gender-sensitive laws and promote the value of effective parenting and shared roles. So, ang PPGD work na siya to help both men and women reach their full potential by, like what I've mentioned, mainstreaming gender and development in government programs, and also collaborating with NGOs, creating gender-sensitive industries and job, providing equal training opportunities, like for example, a government office trains both men and women sa mga computer skills and leadership programs para ma-ensure job openings are inclusive, and holds parenting seminars that encourage fathers to be active caregivers. So next is its advocacy for democratic participation, women's empowerment and self-determination is supported by strategies to protect women's rights under and participation in agrarian reform and other structural changes for rural development, increase women's political involvement, promote women's legal and political education, and reform media messages and public's image of women. So on democratic participation and empowerment, it supports to protect ang mga land, mga rights ng women when it comes to land reform and rural development. And also, help na siya to increase the participation ng mga women when it comes to politics and to promote awareness of women's rights and public and media discourse. Just like for example, may ara isa ka program nga nag-help sa mga women farmers to gain land titles and trains them to participate in local government decisions. And also, TV shows are encouraged to feature like ano ang mga ginakaagian sa mga babae nga farmers and independent woman characters. Next, it respects for human rights and desire for peace and social justice. Underlie the strategies of protecting women overseas contract workers, setting up shelters and crisis center for women, adopting laws that dealing with violence against women and the like, and monitoring human rights violation. So here naman it aims to protect mga overseas Filipino workers nga mga babae, and it builds shelters and crisis centers for abuse victims, and to pass laws against gender-based violence and monitor sang mga human rights violations. Just like for example, may ara isa ka or ang mga government city gahimo sila sang shelter for mga abused women nga kaagi sang mga violence, and gaobra man sila mga hotline services for female of OFW or overseas Filipino worker nga ka-experience man distress in abroad. Another one is sustainable development that equally benefits women and men rest on a sustainable environment, which constitutes part of the strategy for rural structural changes. So in sustainable development, ubos ng mga efforts to benefit both men and women equally and protects the environment. This is a part of a broader plan for sustainable rural progress. For example, our rural development project nga teach sang mga both men and women how to do eco-friendly farming techniques and give them equal access to resources like clean water and renewable energy. Thank you.
In addition, the PPGD relates the gender issues and strategies to macro forces and trends, globalization, trade and market liberalization, and the International Division of Labor, Information Revolution, and Interactive TV and the like. The promise misery as they do a good life. So these forces create both opportunities and risk, like to promote economic growth, pero it can also perpetuate inequality, like for example sa globalization kay they might exploit women para mag-ubra sa mga industries nga magpasweldo. And the phrase the promised misery as they do a good life kay it suggests that ang mga forces kay they can have both positive and negative consequences, like it can uplift some groups while sa iba naman nga part kay harm ang ila nga ginakos sa ila, particularly ang mga babae kag ang mga vulnerable na tao. And that is why gina-aim sa PPGD nga ma-mitigate ang mga negative effects sa mga amo nga forces while maximizing the positive ones for women. Thus, it likewise poses a broad courses of action such as adherence to a type of economic development that is less dependent on foreign debt, and one that recognizes both the positive effects of economic liberalization and the need to protect vulnerable groups such as women workers and small farmers, streaming women into innovative, high-technology levels of knowledge and employment, gaining some control over key aspects of both computer software and hardware development, thus generating employment for women and men, not only in the lower end, but also in the better paying end of the informatics job market, and creating an environment within which women could control their fertility and sexuality with informed choice and minimum health problems, achieve safe motherhood, and gain access to health services. So these are the actions, or these are the actionable strategies nga ginhimo sa PPGD para ma-address ang mga challenges and to also create a more equitable and sustainable development path for women. The PPGD recognizes that development strategies can exacerbate both the benefits and the ill effects of macro and supranational forces. In response, it offers an alternative view of development, one that is gender responsive and revolves around a humane and people-centered definition and practice of development. So amo na siya, they advocate for a gender responsive and humane approach, meaning they acknowledge that macro forces can often exacerbate or mapaworsen ang gender gaps, and that ginakuan nila ang human rights kag equity, particularly sa mga marginalized groups like women.
So hello everyone, I am Bea Marcigoda and I am the last reporter of Group 2. The Framework of Action, the Framework Plan for Women 2001-2004, envision development of equitable, sustainable, free from violence, respectful for human rights, supportive of self-determination and actualization of human potential, and participatory and empowering NCRFW 1000. Development defined as the sustained capacity of women and men to achieve a better and more satisfying life. For women, this means realizing their full capacity as individuals and overcoming social, cultural, economic, and political barriers that deter them from attaining an improved quality of life. The plan is about breaching these barriers regardless of class or origin. The plan ensures that women and men will equitably benefit from development. So this means the framework plan for women 2001 and 2004 envision a type of development that is equitable. So maghambak ito equitable is fair and just, ensure equal opportunities for all. And also we have sustainable. So meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And also we have free for violence, a safe and secure environment free from all form of violence against women. And we have respectful for human rights, upholding the fundamental rights and freedoms for all individuals, and supportive of self-determination, empowering developments to make their own choices and decisions about their lives. And also we have participatory, involving women and men in the decision-making processes that affect their lives. And lastly is the empowering, giving women and men the power and resources to control their own lives and destiny. So next we have the plan focuses primarily on the three areas of concern. So first we have the promotion of women's economic empowerment. So this aims to increase women's economic opportunities and independence. This could involve initiatives like access to education, job training, financial resources, and entrepreneurship support, protection and fulfillment of women. And next, the protection and fulfillment of women's human rights. So this focuses on ensuring women's safety, security, and access to their fundamental rights. This might encompass legal protections against violence and discriminations, access to healthcare and education, and the right to participate in political and social life. And last is the promotion of gender response governments. So this aims to create government systems and policies that are sensitive to the needs and experiences of women. This could include ensure women's representation in government, integrating gender perspectives into policy making, and promoting gender equality in all aspects of governance. These three areas of concern emphasize the important place by the present administration on eradicating the structural causes of poverty as well as transforming it into one that is good, effective, and efficient governance. Moreover, the plans incorporate the innovative strategies and intervention put forward by the PPGD. It also provides the standards and mechanism to fulfill the country's commitment to international agreements such as the Convention of the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, the Beijing Platform for Action, and the Beijing +5 Outcome Document. So these plans emphasize the importance of addressing the root causes of poverty, that inequality that disproportionately affect women. It also highlights that the plan alignment with international agreements such as the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, or CEDAW, the Beijing Platform for Action, and the Beijing +5 Outcome Document, demonstrating a commitment to global standards for gender equality. The plans incorporates innovative strategies and mechanisms to achieve its goals.